Good morning, folks. We're back out of Dad's shop today, and today I've got something a little bit different to work on. This is, my wife has finally figured out that the best way to make me happy is to buy me some old junk for whatever occasion it is. So for Valentine's Day, instead of buying me candy or something like that.
Didn't get any flowers?
Nope, no flowers. I got her flowers and candy and stuff, and I forgot a card. When she gave me a card, I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't get you a card. You just don't get a card this year to go with your stuff. But for Valentine's Day this year, I did have this out of the box already and took a look at it and then threw it back in there. She got me an old antique flashlight.
It has a handle on the back.
The heck is making that beeping noise? Oh, what the heck? Something's making a beeping noise back here. We lit this lantern, and right behind it is this solar powered thing that's supposed to keep birds away that Dad had out in his carport, and the light from that was hitting the solar panel and making it chirp. Like, what in the heck is that super high pitched noise? Okay, get back on track here. Yeah. So she got me this old antique flashlight, and after I got looking at it, I thought, you know what? I wonder if I could make that thing work. So I popped the top off of it, and it's got all the parts are down inside. Actually, we can get the camera a little closer here. All the parts are down inside of it. It's still got all the instructions and the little instruction card glued to the inside of the lid, and it says Burgess lantern, patent applied for, made in the USA. It's a number BL6, and it does say focusing electric lantern. It says that you can adjust this. Ooh, that doesn't seem like it wants to adjust very easily, but you can adjust this ring here on the front of it to adjust the beam of it. So I brought it out here, showed it to Dad, and this is the bottom one of the batteries. It says for best results, put in service before January 1950. So we'll save that. That's kind of neat. But also down in here, there's some of the wires, and these are the little thumb nuts that were on the top of a battery. We were looking at this, and Dad said, well, I know I've got one of those flashlights out here that's still got the battery in it. So the first one he went and grabbed was this one. Delta Redbird Electric Lampany? Delta Redbird Electric Lantern, Delta Electric Company, Marion, Indiana, made in USA. I've had sinus infection and a sore throat, and I just can't get over it. I also can't get a drink of my coffee if I leave the lid shut.
Funny how that works.
That's not really funny. It works really well. Okay. So you grab this one. I fought trying to get the lid off of it and finally got the lid off. And it's similar, but this one's not the one that had the batteries in it. And actually, I'm pretty positive this is newer than mine. It's got a much better switch on it.
And it's kind of a Bakelite switch.
So I think that this one's a little newer.
Plastic.
So I went and grabbed another one that's a little different. Got an older style switch. It also says it's Delta Electric Company, Marion, Indiana, USA. This one's a little rough. it had some bad batteries in it at some point. But just now when I was moving it, I did see that it's got still got a little cardboard with the instructions on it. That's pretty neat. So off Dad went again looking through all of his old flashlights, and he eventually came up with this one, which is pretty similar to mine.
And the switch look a lot like too.
This has a big metal handle on the top. Mine has a bail, but the handles on the back are pretty similar. The light bezels on the front are pretty similar, so they're pretty similar lanterns. This one, there's no label left on the top, and I can't see anywhere that there's any
I didn't either.
writing in it to say what it is. But this is the one that still has this little card that goes across the top. It's got the little straps that make your electrical connections between the batteries, because these have two.
One of them comes out empty.
Big old, these are Rayovac, but there was many different brands of them. Heavy duty, and this even says ignition dry cell, 1.5 volt, which is funny because our antique gas engines that had battery ignition, this is what you would have used, is put some of these together in a series to make however many volts you needed to run your coil. EF70.
And it's got a cap
Yeah.
similar to your blue.
But there's no writing on the bottom of that one. Let's see if the other one will pop out, just for the heck of it. They're kind of in rough shape. We probably should set these batteries,
So they don't rot like
yeah, on a little metal tray or something next to the flashlights that we got on display. Oh man, that one's okay. Well, when I'm off camera, I'll work on that one a little more. But I do think it probably would be a good idea to get them out of there. They don't show any signs of leaking yet, but look at the side of that. It's all bulged out. But being in a climate controlled building, if we just set them on display with the flashlights, I'll bet they'll hold up for a long time yet, but I'd hate to see it somehow leak and rot the bottom of this flashlight out.
Yeah, it's in nice shape.
So let's slide this. It's funny because mine actually talks about having a little cardboard in there, and it talks about putting a spare bulb through the cardboard, so if you got a spare bulb. Alright, that's the lid for mine. This is the lid for this one. Let's set that back on there and set it off to the side here. Now, in order to get mine going, each of those big dry cell batteries, which I was going to show that too. See the thumb nuts on the top of that? They're just like the ones that were rattling around in the bottom of my flashlight there. So the ones that were in my flashlight are off of a battery like this. It said it was a 1.5 volt dry cell battery. So I am going to be able to use some D cell batteries as my dry cell batteries. Honestly, a modern D cell battery's probably got just as much power in it as one of those
Oh yeah.
did back in the 1920s. So I'm going to try to manufacture a little battery pack with a couple of D cell batteries to try this flashlight out and see if it works. The bulb that's in it looks good, but it's hard to tell just by looking if it's going to work or not. But I can't see where the elements broke in it, so it might be fine. So, got some, oops, those will actually thread on the little bolts that I bought. Got some wire here. Got a couple batteries, I got some tape, and I'm going to try to manufacture a battery that can slide down in there, and then I've got some foam that I can make some packing to go in around it so it doesn't rattle around in there. see if we can make a battery pack that'll work to power this light. I'm going to start by, maybe I'll put them both the same way. I'm going to have to run a wire from the negative one battery to the positive of the other, and then from the negative off of that, that'll be my negative terminal, and then a wire from the positive on this one to my positive terminal. And I'm going to have terminals on either side of the battery so that we can hook it back up with a nut and the little wires that jumper around in there, similar to how they had it originally, but with modern batteries. These batteries say to use them by March of 2033. That one said to use it by January of 1950.
Gotta be the same.
So I'm going to tape these two batteries together and just go round and round and round them with my electrical tape. Just like that. That'll be my start for my battery pack. And then I'm not sure how I'm gonna connect my wires. I think I may just make a loop of wire, wrap it around there, tape around it to hold it in place. I don't think it's gonna require anything more serious than just tape holding it on there. That's probably a more secure connection than what was in some flashlights that just had a spring-loaded thing to hold it anyway, so.
If you could solder them wires on.
Well, if you were good at soldering, that's what I thought about, but I'm not great at soldering, so I don't know if I could solder them on there.
Someday we gotta get some new solder and try it.
Yeah, it might help if our solder wasn't antique. So I'm going to make a jumper wire to go from the positive on one battery to the negative on the other. This one's not going to be it because I cut it too short. That was just for demonstration purposes.
Yeah, I'll show how you.
Actually, maybe if I run it down through there. Yeah. Oh, there it'll work. Yeah, that's what I meant to do. Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's what I meant to do in the first place. So we'll go from the positive on one to the negative on the other. And then we'll have one, get down where you see it, one 3-volt cell instead of two 1.5 volt cells when we connect the two of them together.
Kind of like wiring up a Delco plant.
Kind of similar. So I'm just going to strip a little bit of the wire off there. Strip a little bit of wire off on that end. Twist them together so they're not all flayed out. And then stick that down right in between those two batteries. Get through there. There we go. So that we got one end of it to come to the negative one battery, the other end to go to the positive of the other battery. And I think I am going to do, like I said, I'm just going to tape them in place. I'll put a little piece of tape to hold it now, and then once I'm done and have all the connections on the top and the bottom, I'll wrap around that way and seal it all up good and tight. But for right now, that should be enough to hold that end to the bottom of that one. And we'll do the same thing over here up to the top of this one.
And if this works, it won't require $14 a gallon Coleman fuel.
No, but I don't think that batteries are a whole heck of a lot cheaper.
No.
Okay, there we go. If I tested from here to here, I should get 3 volts now from the negative on this battery to the positive on this battery. Now, I am going to put a little bolt. I should check and see. I wonder if I could reuse these little nuts on the top of there. Nope, they won't work. But I bought little nuts to go on each one. So I'm going to put a bolt down each side of it. One of the bolts is going to be connected to the positive terminal on one battery. The other one's going to be connected to the negative terminal on the other battery. And then I should have terminals up here that have 3 volts. Once I get it all put together, we'll test it and make sure we got 3 volts going across there. There we go. Now, if all my connections are good, I should be able to get my tester and test 3 volts across there. I'll try to set this where the camera will be able to see the screen. Got my 1980s voltage tester out here, or multimeter. Okay, this one with the clip on it, it should go on that side to the positive. Showing 3.2-ish. That looks like it's kind of jumping around. 3.23. So we got our 3 volts from our batteries. That is good. There we go. Now, obviously these are made for a much larger battery pack in there. So to take up some of the space in there, I've got some of this stuff, the foam that comes as packing material in boxes sometimes. I'm gonna cut some pieces of that to stack up in the bottom, and then some pieces also to go around the outside of this, probably slide a piece down on each side of it, because I want to have the top of this up fairly close to the top of that. I'll probably have it down far enough that I can cut one more piece of this as insulation to lay over the top too. Okay, got some pieces of that cut and slid down in there to fill up all the empty space, because our battery pack is significantly smaller than what they had originally. But now when I set the battery down in there, the terminals on my battery pack come up close enough to the top that we'll be able to get in there and hook the wires up that we need to hook up. It just occurred to me there has to be some wire coming off the back side of that light bulb in there, and my guess is it used to be this wire. So we might have to see if we can get the thread out of there. Oh, it is turning. I thought it seemed like it didn't want to earlier, but because everything's going to ground through the metal case of the lamp here. But we got to have a wire that connects to the terminal on the back of that bulb. And I can see, I'll try to get a shot of it with my phone. I know the camera won't be able to see it down in there. A little just a tiny little scrap of wire coming out the back, and it's insulated. It's there's like a little, I don't know what it's made out of, but a little piece to insulate it, and that's going to have to be reconnected, and I don't know how I'm going to get to that. I'll pause the camera for a few minutes while I sit here and ponder how I'm going to get a wire put back in there. Okay, well, this is going to be tricky, but I'm invested in it now, so we got to do it. But down inside of there where the bulb screws in, there's a little connector that used to have a wire soldered to the back of it. Probably was this wire soldered to the back of it, came through, and that's what went to your positive post on the battery. The only way I see that I'm going to be able to get in there is to drill out these rivets and take that apart. We don't have rivets like that, but we do have 1/8 inch pop rivets. We'll use the shortest ones we've got, so there's not much sticking inside. There's going to be some of this white foam on the back side of it to insulate it anyway. So is it going to be perfect and original? No, but can I make this thing work? Because I really want to make it work. My wife got it for me, and I want to actually make it work and maybe use it every once in a while for something. Take it on a camping trip this summer. So I guess we're doing surgery now. So what I'm going to try to do is drill these 2 rivets out and get this whole holder out of here. And then there's smaller rivets coming from the back. We might have to take those out too. And we're off to a good start. That rivet's just spinning. There we go. Save all these pieces because we got to put everything back in there to make it work right. Now see if we can do the same thing on this side up here. Now it's not. Oh, now it's spinning. It wasn't spinning at first.
I can't imagine them are real tough rivets.
No, they're pretty thin. There we go. All right. Here is our bulb holder. There's a little piece rattling around inside of here. It's supposed to have a wire coming off of it and through that hole.
Yep.
And that little piece is what the back of this bulb contacts when it's threaded in there. So unfortunately, these 2 little rivets that are going through that are going to have to be drilled out too, and we're going to have to enlarge those holes to 1/8 of an inch because we don't have any rivets smaller than 1/8 of an inch. But that's the only way. Well, will that come out through there? I don't think so. No, it fits right in there, but it won't fit out through there. So we're going to have to get that backside off of there. Solder that back together because I'm such an expert solderer. And then enlarge these holes in here to 1/8 inch so that we can rivet it back together with an 1/8 inch rivet. It's the only way we're going to be able to make it work.
Can you pick that? Put a pick in from the backside and push that out?
I don't think so.
Then you could just solder that wire to that centerpiece and put it back in there.
We could try, but I don't think it'll come out through there. It looks like it's significantly bigger around than what would come out through there. I don't know. Nope. By God, maybe it will come out of there. goodness. Get a hold of it. Oh yeah, there we go. It did come out of there. That's way better. That's better to not have to drill those two smaller ones out. So we can re-solder a wire to the back of this little piece. Okay, well after much more struggling than two grown adult men should have to do to try to solder one little piece of wire, I ended up with the wire clamped to the edge of the table, sticking up through there because it had melted all the solder out of the center of that before, got a daub of solder on the end of there, and it seems to be stuck in place now. We definitely need to buy some better soldering equipment. But it seems like we got a little button on the back of there that can go right up against the back of the bulb now. It is connected to the end of the wire. It's through the insulator. There is not any bare wire extra showing on there, so I think this will function. Now it just occurred to me that I hope that it'll fit through that hole. Yep, it will. Oh, it won't fit through that hole though. We should have had the wire going through that hole in the back of there before we soldered it. It's got to go right through the middle of that hole.
It'll be fine. Oh, you
Yeah.
got an eye on it.
Well,
You can take that eye off.
that eye is going to come off. I hate to because that's the original wire, but
We can make one that kind of looks that way. This is the first flashlight we ever built.
yeah. Okay, take two. We got the wire clamped back to the end of the table. I got this piece on there where it should have been the last time before we soldered it together. I finally got it to where I got a decent little button of solder on there. My wire's coming right in the back side of that button of solder. That little button of solder will be what makes the contact with the button on the back of the bulb. I think I got it fixed to where it'll work. Pretty clear to say I'm becoming an expert on repairing antique flashlights as we speak.
That thing didn't have a spring in there, did it?
Nope. Doesn't look too shabby there. Let's just... That goes right back down through there. Repaired. Now, hopefully I didn't cut too much off of that wire and make it so short it won't reach where it needs to go anymore. That's how I do things. Alrighty, now we need, I think Dad's over looking for pop rivets. Find the shortest ones that we got.
That's a little bitty aluminum ones in here.
That'll be good. They were brass rivets in there before, but aluminum will work perfectly fine.
Those are 1/8 inch.
For what we are doing. Let's get the camera set back up here where you can kind of see down in what we're doing here. Try to keep it where you can somewhat see what's going on here. This has to go back in through there. Line those holes back up, and then we got to get those little spring clips
Brass thingies.
back on there. That's what makes our beam focusable. That's what pushes the, whoops.
Probably grounds against this for it too. No, nah, I don't know.
But that's what the back of our reflector rides against, and the reflector is supposed to be adjustable. You're supposed to be able to adjust the beam of light. I wonder if, did this come through from that side before?
I think it did.
Maybe it did, because it's not.
It fell down in there, remember?
Yep, it's not fitting right there. Oh, it fits much better that way.
Yeah.
There we go. I am trying to keep my fingers out of the way here, but it's right next to impossible.
And you want to see what else is next to impossible?
Here, let me just have that rivet out of there and try to use it to line everything up here. I don't know if that rivet gun will fit down in there.
Oh, yeah. Ready?
Ready as I'll ever be. Well, that didn't.
Didn't do anything?
It did, but it's not very tight.
No, sure isn't. I thought it popped way too easy.
Yeah, well, let's
push all the way in.
let's drill that out of there and try that again. Plenty long, plenty long. So try to hold everything in place, make sure that's seated down good, and try it again. But that one sure didn't seem like it pulled anything up very tight the last time. There we go. You didn't even get that much on it before and it broke.
Nope.
So, oh, nice and snug. Well, no, not really.
Not really.
God dang it. Oh well, let's try one on the other side. If it doesn't work, we might have to get a steel rivet that'll
Yeah, I'm wondering if I might
pull a
just
little harder.
go get that, because it would work better.
Yeah, I think these aluminum rivets are just breaking way too easy. We're learning as we go here, folks. Throw some of this stuff back in the drawer. I'm surprised my homemade battery pack hasn't shorted out against something and started a fire yet. Yeah, we'll get a steel rivet that'll draw this down tighter. Even if the rivets come through to the inside of that a little bit, since I'm using my homemade battery pack, I'm gonna have insulation at the front there, so I'm not concerned about it getting into anything. This wire for the ground doesn't look amazing, but I'm not gonna tear it apart unless I have to. Not finding any steel rivets? Alright, I'm not going to say that I'm the first person who's ever taken a pop rivet apart and ground it down shorter to make the length of pop rivet that they need, but I'm guessing it's not been done very often. But here's what we got. These rivets were way too long to go in there, so I took the rivet off of the steel mandrels, which are steel rivets too, they were throwing sparks. Ground them down shorter on the bench grinder, put them back together. Now I'm going to re-drill this aluminum one out again that didn't pull everything up tight. And we're going to try this again.
I'm getting tired.
Yeah, it is almost, well, it's afternoon. It is afternoon, so it's...
I should be sleeping now.
Yeah, Dad should have ate lunch and took a nap already by now. All right, let's try this again here. I'll get my little spring clip here, line everything up.
Springtime.
Get that poked down through there. I'll try to hold the back side of it here good and solid. Now hopefully that pops much tighter. Oh yeah, that went together snug. Let's see if we can get one, the other one that I ground off, lined up down at this end. Get my fingers down in there to hold everything up snug and secure. Do the same thing on that side. There we go. Everything's nice and snug now. My God, I think we might have saved this thing. And the wire's still plenty long to come up where it'll connect to my battery. I'm glad I didn't cut that end off that wire. Once I figured out how to solder it, the second time went a little easier. So there, now that we got all these parts back together, I can put all my little shim pieces back down in the bottom. Being careful not to break off the wire that we just repaired. Or the ground wire that doesn't look phenomenal, but I'm not gonna take it out as long as it works.
I'm looking on this along that Coleman's gonna be pumped up again.
Yeah. That's why people quit using lanterns and went to these simple to use electric flashlights.
Yeah. And these are just light a candle in there, wouldn't it look the same?
Okay, got my little shim pieces back in there. Got my battery pack that I built here. Once it's down in there, that'll work. I'm gonna cut some pieces to go around the batteries to take up all the excess area around there so that the batteries are like can't tip forward, back, move around in there. Dad's pumping up the Coleman. He's not going to let us work in the dark here. All right, my battery pack is setting firmly down in there. It's got insulation all the way around it. After I get the wires hooked up, I'm even going to cut a piece of insulation to go over the top of it so that there's no way anything in there can short out. I'm going to really be disappointed if this thing doesn't work after doing all this. But I think Leo's trying to eat styrofoam now. I'm sure that's good for him. I think it'll work. The switch is very simple. You flip that little switch and you can see in here it just moves a little piece of brass and makes contact, or copper, probably copper. I don't know, maybe it is brass, it's not tarnished. Either way, just moves a little piece of metal and makes contact. I'm not too concerned about that. That's the ground. So even though it's kind of frayed, it's not going to short out against anything. So let's hook up the battery. For my terminals, I got 2 nuts for each one. I'm probably going to drop it and it's going to go way down in there and I have to take everything out to get it. So that I can run 1 nut down to where it's touching the top of my battery pack that I made. That's the positive side. This is the negative side. I'll run them down till they're snug against the tape and top of the batteries. And then a positive wire will go right on there. Oh goodness, it's tight around that, but it'll slide on there. I never thought about those bolts being bigger around, but
I did, but I didn't say anything.
it'll fit on there. And then the negative on this one. Let me get both hands so I can get those down on there all the way. And get my other two nuts, and we are about ready to thread a bulb in here and flip the switch. See if this thing makes some light for the first time in probably decades for sure.
Maybe it'll make smoke.
This is entirely possible.
Shouldn't.
All right, I'm gonna get a paper towel to wipe this bulb off so that I don't have any oil from my fingers on that bulb when I thread it in there. All right, try to wipe my bulb down really good. Ooh, we're running out of battery on the camera too, for the love of God. All right, I'll thread this bulb back in there. Try to not touch it with my fingers again. Nope.
Probably not as important as an LED bulb that gets so hot. But that would get hot too.
Alright, it's into where it feels like it's making contact in there. Let's flip the switch and see if the light comes on.
Ta-da!
Look at that. It doesn't look excessively bright, that's for sure, but it certainly is coming on.
Won't be as bright as it ever was.
Alright. The poor glass is broken on this, but I'm not gonna get too concerned about that right now. Oh,
it might get real worse.
I got it. Just gonna wipe this
That'll brighten her up.
reflector out just a little bit and get a little dab of glass cleaner. In the interest of saving my battery, I'll wait until we get the glass clean and the lens back on here, then I'll turn the camera back on. Who knew you had to drag out that much shit to work on a flashlight?
Look at all the stuff.
I got an insulation piece to put here in the top so nothing can short out. It's all closed up. Nothing can rattle around. It keeps everything tight and secure in there. Turn it on, the light comes on. It doesn't look very bright here in the shop, but it makes some light. And you can focus this beam, so when it's dark, I'll do that. And I can't think of any other way to test this and see how it works other than putting the chickens away tonight at home. So we'll get the end of this video tonight at home, putting the chickens away. Okay folks, we're at home. It's pretty chilly and very windy, but I'll talk while I'm close to the camera so the wind doesn't block it. This has a focusable beam. I'm going to turn it on and shine it on the side of the shed and get the beam focused, then we'll go out and put the chickens away. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. Let's go close up the chickens. It actually For an antique flashlight, it's doing better than I thought it would. It doesn't show up as well on the camera as it does in real life, but you can kind of see it back there. That's a neighbor's shed. That's pretty far away. It's doing a pretty good job. It definitely, the camera doesn't do it justice. It's doing pretty well. Now that we're back here fairly close to the chicken coop, you can kind of see where the beam is shining on the pallets of the chicken run. Okay, I gotta hold the camera and the flashlight with the same hand here. There you go. Now you can see that it works pretty good. Not too bad for an antique flashlight. I apologize for the wind noise. It is very windy out here. All right, folks, if you're interested in flashlights, let me know. We have, I showed you a few of them that Dad drug out. We have, I just about said hundreds, but we have dozens for sure of flashlights, maybe 100 antique flashlights out at Dad's shop. So if you want to see some more flashlight videos, let me know. Here we go. I'm going to try something here. Okay, well, it's sure bright when you're looking right into it, that's for sure. So yeah, like I said, if you're interested in old flashlights, leave a comment, because we got lots of old flashlights that we could do some videos like this on. So thanks for watching, everybody. As I say every week, if you want to help support our channel, the best thing you can do is just let the ads play when they come. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh no, I think I just burned out my bulb. Well, I guess the end of this is gonna be in the dark. Either way. If you'd like to see more flashlight videos, leave a comment. We can do some more of them, that's for sure. Thanks for watching, folks. Come on back next week. We'll have a video of something here for you to watch.